Yeah. Okay, so you are officially woke. That is what wokeness is about. It's like, people's grandparents or their great-grandparents were slaves.
Well, it's okay. No, it's okay.
I'm talking.
Guys,
Woke. We hear that term used so much in modern American society, but what does it even mean? We're gonna try to get to the bottom of this, and luckily we've got Ben Shapiro here to help us out with doing that today. Joining Ben will be a very triggered SJW, I believe he's a college student of sorts, who has come and is also providing his own definition of that word. So we'll get right into that video, guys, but first, please make sure you subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream channel and leave us a like and a comment. I'm your host, Darian. Let's get into the video.
Before I ask my question, so do you come from Holocaust survivors, or are you a Jewish family that didn't?
So my great-great-grandparents arrived here. A lot of our extended family was killed in the Holocaust, but our immediate family.
Your great-great-grandparents, but not your grandparents.
Right.
Oh, do you have friends whose grandparents were Holocaust survivors or anything like that?
Of course, many of them. Yeah, I've helped write memoirs of Holocaust survivors.
Yeah. Their families are kind of messed up, right? Like, my family is very messed up.
I mean, if you go through a trauma like the Holocaust, I would imagine
they teach that trauma between generations. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, trauma very often in a lot of circumstances is passed down. I mean, I know some kids of Holocaust survivors who turned out fantastic and some who didn't. I mean,
yeah. Okay, so you are officially woke. That is what wokeness is about. It's like, people's grandparents or their great-grandparents were slaves.
Well, it's okay. No, it's okay.
I'm talking.
Guys, I actually want to hear. I want to hear.
No, this
it's
is
okay.
right.
It's okay. I want to hear. Let's at least hear the argument. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Go.
What he wants to hear?
I do want to hear it. It's fine. Let him go. Let's hear it.
Come on.
So explain how that's woke.
So I mean, the whole thing is like, let's see. So during Silent Calvin Coolidge's administration, do you know about like the Great Mississippi Flood back in the 1930s?
I understand that American history is filled with racial evil.
Yeah. And that causes some intergenerational trauma, which affects people's ability to be effective, things like that.
Fine. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So if the idea is that history has consequences, of course that's true. That's not wokeness.
Yeah.
That is not wokeness. What wokeness suggests is that fundamental institutions in American society
are so... No, it doesn't.
Yes, it 100%
does. I ran Elizabeth Warren's campaign. I helped organize her volunteers around here.
Explains it all.
I am a representative of wokeness.
Okay, well...
And that's just... this is all it is.
Well,
when I went to go get my first tattoo, the guy had lightning bolts and 88s tattooed on his neck. And as a Jewish person, that's really messed up. It's basically a threat.
There are.
Okay, so the guy is just really effeminate, and I think he confirmed that by saying he worked for Elizabeth Warren campaign. So we got to the bottom of that one. But I just want to address this story real quick he brings up about going to the barber and this 88 tattoo, and I'm sorry, I just don't believe that story, like for a second. I really don't. It gives me Jussie Smollett vibes, or as I like to call him, Juicy Smollett. So for those who might not remember, he was a man who, he claimed he was beaten up in Chicago randomly, like, he was at a Subway at midnight or, past midnight, even though Subway's not open. I'm not kidding. This was his story. And he said that these two white, racist, just hick MAGA guys came out and were like, hey, you're that N-word from Empire, F you. Like, this is literally the guy's account. And they said, this is MAGA country, and then tied a noose around his neck and all this stuff. And it was just, it was like the left's worst nightmare of antebellum South times 10. It was just the worst, most racist, heinous, white supremacist thing to ever happen. And it was all a lie. It was a hoax. And I remember really well at the time that people were saying, well, if you don't believe them, you're questioning victims. You're evil. You're a racist. A trust is story about these horrible, racist, white, Republican, conservative, Trump-supporting MAGA bigots. And it was all fake and made up. I wouldn't be surprised if that story was the same about the tattoo. And even if it's not, sorry, but you're probably never going to meet a guy like that again. Okay, so I don't know. It's so annoying. Another one I can think of, Bubba Wallace, the NASCAR driver, much like Jussie Smollett, total liar. Bubba Wallace said there was a noose to his garage, put on his garage in some kind of racist attack of sorts. And then NASCAR summoned the FBI to investigate it. I'm not kidding. Apparently the FBI, doesn't have better things to do, like, I don't know, targeting human traffickers. They investigate this kind of stuff. The FBI found that it was totally a hoax. It sounds like I'm making this up, guys. It's so ridiculous. The FBI determined that it was just a rope pulley. You think someone with a pair of eyes could figure that out before all this. I know I did when I saw the story. My first thought was, this is a hoax. Yeah, it was literally a rope pulley on a garage. And Bubba said it was a racist noose. So yeah, forgive me for being skeptical about this story about the tattoo parlor. It's like, whatever, man. I'm sorry. It's all like just whining victim stuff. It's so annoying. It's so overdone. Let's keep going.
Racist people who exist. The argument that you're making, and I'm going to close with this because this is going in weird directions, and I don't really want to.
No, it's not.
I don't really want to get. Just hold up a second. I let you get out your arguments, and now it's time for me to respond because I let you say.
Okay, I'll let you respond, but
no, not but. Now's my turn.
You are not characterizing what I'm saying accurately.
Now it's my turn. Your definition is inaccurate. The reason your definition is inaccurate is because any sentient human being would acknowledge that history has consequences.
Right.
But if the idea is, but that's not what wokeism is. Wokeism is a different thing. Wokeism suggests that all inequalities of today are attributable to not only historic injustices, but also continuing injustices in the now, and that all disparity is attributable to discrimination.
Like that, but a conservative.
Not just that.
A conservative is the only person. I want to know why. Why is it that conservatives are the only people who define it like that? Why are conservatives the only people?
Okay, so we're gonna have to stop here because this is going nowhere. But
what's up?
I'm gonna have to stop with this with you because this is going nowhere. All I'm going to say is this.
I just am trying to understand your perspective.
So disingenuous. I'm just trying to understand your perspective, man. Really? Is that why, if you'll notice, a couple minutes back in the video, Ben Shapiro started describing what wokeness is, and unlike him, was probably getting to a correct definition. And then he very quickly cut him off, was like, no, that's not what it is. And Shapiro hadn't even gotten close to finishing the point. So it's very insincere. He obviously doesn't want to know his perspective. He just wants to shut up Ben Shapiro for daring to define it a way that he doesn't like. I think that's quite obvious.
Just one more second.
Nice round of booze.
You say
on a fundamental level, you're shifting definitions to avoid the consequences of your own argument. And if the idea is final point. If you are going to hold on, if you are also just final point to sum up there. Final point to
how I can follow that.
Yeah, one more. I just want to make, honestly,
Go ahead.
I want to make one final point to sum up there. If the idea is that traumas of the past invariably bleed down into the present, that does not explain why certain groups that have been historically not only marginalized but slaughtered in mass genocide are some of the most successful groups in our society. So if the idea is...
Fair point.
If the idea is that past trauma always equals current inequality, or that my actions in, say, robbing a convenience store are attributable to bad actions that happened in Alabama in 1930, the answer to that is no. Don't rob the convenience store. The only way they are going to be able to break the chain of history is to make good decisions. What people on the left don't like to talk about is actual solutions. What they like to do is bitch about problems that existed 60 years ago and blame those for failures to solve them now.
Well, guys, that wraps up that clip. I have to say, I really enjoyed near the end when the kid starts getting angry and yelling and saying, I thought conservatives were for free speech. There's no free speech. Meanwhile, he was hogging the mic for a good at least 2 minutes prior to that, just talking about, blathering on about silly stuff to an audience of, I don't know, that could be thousands of people, however many people there are there. It looks like Shapiro was quite well attended in that speech. They have nothing. Much more free speech than the left is ever allowed to any conservative ever. Yet he's just complaining. There's no ammo there. It's kind of hilarious. Shapiro wrapped up really well. I couldn't have said it better myself. That victim mentality, they're addicted to it. It's all finding problems. They never want to find a solution. They just want to complain and whine and, it's everyone's fault but mine, wah, 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 white man this, bad man that. It doesn't stop. They don't actually care about bettering themselves and leading a decent life. And it's quite clear. Well, that wraps it up for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As usual, please comment below. Let us know what you liked, what you want to see coming next. And we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, and God bless.